back to just taking care of Dan. Just,
3 weeks is, okay.
Been there. Know that.
Consider yourself cared for.
Yeah. Consider yourself on the road to recovery. Awesome. Hey, I want to start by thanking you guys for filling out the weekend worship evals. Super, super helpful. And just I really think helps us just take this hour and be really consistent and concise and efficient with it, where we're still connecting, but we're also now everyone's late is in trouble. I kind of like that. Come on in.
Her face.
But it's really, really important and really, really helpful because weekend experiences are something that we are evaluating every week at a much higher level.
It's Kendall.
That was Kendall.
Okay, I'm pretty sure soon it's gonna be Pablo. And so I want to speak from an informed perspective in that meeting every Tuesday, 3 o'clock. If you want to pray for other people when I get fired up in that meeting, I'm just kidding. Fine, it's fine. Everything's fine. I want to speak from an informed perspective, and I also value your feedback on how things are going that we're trying. So it's really, really important that you hear me say this. When we're really into what we're doing, which we should be, we should all really be focused on, centered on, invested in the worship experience at the campus. That's what you're paid to do, that's what you're passionate about, that's what you're gifted to do. However, we can't get into a hole where the only thing that we care about and are passionate about is just the worship. There are other priorities in the weekend service that we have to make room for, make space for, value, and appreciate because they really matter. So the guest services experience really matters. We could be in there killing it, like we are. Like we're in there killing it, but the people had no place to park, they didn't know where to drop off their kids. The person who they dropped their kids off was rude and unhelpful. They're not coming back, no matter if you're riffing like Adele all over the place. They're not coming back, okay? That matters. How people are greeted inside the service, that matters. Pastor Matt had a specific burden going into this weekend service. His message was phenomenal, but he was carrying that burden, and that burden was 47 minutes. And so that's another high value. We can't just go, Matt, we've got this awesome killer tag thing. Can you please get that down to 38? Like that's not our approach. That's not what we do. That's not what we're ever going to do. And the reason why this matters is because how we communicate this value to our teams sets them up to get that or sets them up to be irritated and put off by it. And that could be a huge problem. So please see your role as a worship leader as being the person who goes, hey, you guys, Pastor Matt's message this week, it is much needed. He has been carrying this burden for several weeks going into this weekend. So we're going to be as agile and flexible as we need with worship to set him up for success. He wants that longer worship leading into his message, but willing to trim or cut or edit the backside of service because he needs this space and this time to say what God's leading him to say. Not, well, thanks for killing that break every chain tag in practice, but we're not using it, so that's just how things go around here. If you're around Sanos for any amount of time, and if that's in your heart, please spend time with the Lord before you go into rehearsal or go into Sunday morning. In everything, it's a heads up approach, not a heads down. We're not just. Thank you. Thanks, Pablo. Yes. So that is hugely, hugely important. Okay, hugely important. Please be an advocate for your church and an advocate for your pastor, and not I'm just so consumed with what I'm doing, and it's so amazing that when everyone scratches or changes, and know also that in those meetings, I'm carrying the worship banner and waving that banner really, really high. I'm not just sitting there going, okay, whatever you guys want to do. Like, you guys know me. That would never be a thing. I'm continuing to get clarity from Pastor Matt as much as I can. I'm continuing to raise the value of creating movement and a dynamic leading into the message that helps him up to be successful and helps people ready to receive. And I'm working really closely with Jono in communications on how to do that in the most effective way. Jono and Stephanie are huge advocates of a fantastic worship experience. I think there's been times in the past where we felt like it was on the chopping block all the time, and people could just cut it and slice it and dice it however they wanted to. It's a new day. That's not a thing anymore. So just know that as we continue to grow, we will continue to have growing pains. And growing pains are what reminds us that we're growing. And that's a really good thing. That's a really awesome thing. There were churches all across the country yesterday who couldn't fill one single service. There were worship leaders leading to hardly anyone. That's not us. So if every time you kind of feel yourself doing this, just have that shift in perspective of there's worship leaders going into work this week and their job is on the line because the budget isn't there, the people aren't there, the money's not there. So it's helpful for us to always go, oh, let me realign that. That's a problem, but everything's okay. It's a healthy place to be. So really quickly, jumping into the business side of things, I don't want to go person to person if we can avoid that, but I do want to hear from you. I would just like your overall feedback on how something specific went. I want to know how the welcome after Look to the Sun went at your campus. We had some Slack issues, which we have hopefully resolved. Welcome to Slack, Garrett, and to the channels that you need to be a part of. My apologies for that, and also to Steve Rivera. Thank you for grace. We're figuring things out. But all of the campus pastors were in the loop as far as how that should have gone. And I'm just curious across the campuses how you felt like it went. Whoever wants to share first. I pick Krista.
Okay.
Because you look pretty in our new Cultivate hoodie. That's why.
Well, I was with Taylor at San Bernardino, and I thought it went really smoothly.
Was it Pastor Chris?
Yes.
Okay. He's very good.
Yeah, he's really masterful at how he stays on the energy channel that we're on. We kept sort of a little bit of a like the kick drum going, and like the song, people were still clapping like while he was talking even.
Awesome.
Like, I mean, it was just, to me it felt like, yeah, this is just like a talking point, and then we're just moving right into the next song. So
that's a win.
I don't know if you felt the same way, but I felt like it was a real smooth transition. There was no like fizzle out or anything like that. It just felt like, and I think the decision to keep that going underneath was the key to making it seem like we're still in the middle of worship. So
good.
That was smooth.
Okay, awesome. That's great feedback. It's okay if it didn't go well at your campus. Don't be afraid to share that.
Way to go, Chris. I'm gonna pick the winner. I think as far as the transition went, it was good. Like, it was fine. In terms of it, like making lemonade out of whatever we gotta do, it's great. In terms of it, perpetuating, furthering, increasing the dynamics or the dynamicy of our worship experience, absolutely not. If we can get that out ASAP, that'd be great. If we have to keep it there, I think that's probably the best solution to do, but it definitely cuts that first section off a little bit of like, okay, like I was maybe gonna potentially get it, but now my direction needs to be shifted a little bit. I have to sort of shift it back. So the ask that we're having of our people in all of our venues and all of our campuses is like, hey, I'm gonna finish this in just a second, but first I need to like cover this really important information about the red card. I don't know, it's really that important. I think if we started our service with how like movies do and did a like a video where it was, here's some real basic information that would change per series maybe. It's just sort of that stuff that rolls on with the countdown clock. I think that'd be more effective, efficient, and would help with our flow of service. But
We did that a long long time ago
So
where we would
used to
run.
do like weekly
yeah.
announcements,
Yeah.
right?
Right, we'd run it before service.
Not do that where we were doing it every week because that was dumb.
Yeah.
But have like every 8 weeks or whatever it is, here's like our basic information of like red card and like this.
Yeah.
And then if we have extra things like, hey, there's Cultivate, you run it as like a movie preview, like a bumper right
Well,
there.
to give you guys info, we're moving further away from any announcements altogether, and less information coming from this stage altogether, to really focus on the guest for the weekend. So the guest worship experience and the guest informational. Here's what you need to know. We're taking out all of the other verbiage. So speaking is becoming less and less and less on the stage. The issue that arises from that is the lack of people in the room. So the only reason we move the welcome 3 or 4 minutes in is because we're hoping for more people. We are hoping to test drive another idea that I submitted for Easter, which is we go all the way through worship. Worship leaders start out, worship goes all the way, and at the end of the set, the campus pastor comes out, does essentially what he just did, or she, if it's a campus host, does the new card, introduces campuses to who are the pastor of our churches. Because what I'm going to share this week is I was at Lake Arrowhead. I was 6 minutes late, and being 6 minutes late, I came in not knowing who Ian was by the time he got up there, not having any idea who Pastor Matt Brown was. So as a brand new person, being 6 minutes late, this new approach didn't help me. And I'm assuming that 6 minutes is not going to be uncommon for people. So the other facet I would like to kind of go over is for those campuses, and this would be good to hear like from Steve, because I know Banning, it takes, especially their second service, to get filled up, is even at Woodcrest, was the room significantly more full at the end of the first song, or was it similar to how it is at the beginning?
Very similar.
Yeah.
It was full by the mashup.
Yeah. What about at Moreno Valley? They typically get there on time pretty much.
Yeah, there was a difference. There was a significant difference.
And Jeff wasn't there this weekend, so it was Scott.
Mhm.
So how did you feel like it went at Moreno Valley?
Scott was great because he was breathing. He kept the energy up. So.
Good. I'm just gonna say it went right to that brief word.
yeah.
Yeah. How did it go at HP?
I thought it went well. So Aurelio and Jono switched off on Saturday. Like Don said, it was very brief, informative. Matt Ritchie did a really good job of like leading the band through that transition. But I would agree with Eddie. I'd like to have worship just be one simple flow throughout the service. And I also talked to Jono and Aurelia, like, I'll look at you and you guys can start coming up when I look at you, but they were still hesitant, and then they almost did like the slight jog up there. So I was like, come on. So there was like this sense of hesitancy, and also like timid and like kind of nervous, but it was short, so that's good. I can get through that quick.
Yeah. Another feedback that I would like from you guys, I have my own thoughts about it, but I would like to hear from you. At every campus, did the campus pastor say you consider stand for the last song?
Yes.
I'm not a fan of that directive at all when it comes to worship, and I'm going to suggest that we don't ever do that. At Lake Arrowhead, where it's still a newer Sandals campus, where worship is they're still getting there. You know me, I stood up, but I was in the back. But
That was
then,
just you.
yes, that's right there. But did you
I was
see?
like, hey! I almost wanted to be like, can everyone else please stand up?
Well, so here's what I want to say to you guys about that, and I'm going to share this. One, I don't want to do that ever again. Two, if I get overridden, then halfway through the song, I want you to have people stand up. It's not, we're not teaching people I get the idea for this week. I don't think Pastor Matt ended as heavy as everyone was saying he was going to. So that's a side conversation. But the other part is, if I decide to stay seated, but then you stand up, then I'm completely walled off and you're in front of me. I'm completely walled off and blocked off from the experience. So then it creates hesitancy. And if there's one thing in worship, by leading worship, we're trying to move people away from. It's hesitancy. It's because then they're not really listening to the song. Their minds are, should we stand or should we sit?
Yes.
They're standing, they're sitting, what should I? They're not really there. So just please feel the freedom, and I will share this in the meeting tomorrow. I'm actually going to share the feedback before we get into the meeting. But that just is something I understand, but I don't want to move into or get into the habit of. I don't think it serves the purpose that we're trying to have it serve. I understand the heart behind it, but even if we say we're going to do that for the first minute and a half,
Thank you.
then you guys as worship leaders, you're saying stand with us and sing this, especially a song like Living Hope, in To Break Every Chain. Princess is up there ripping it, and there's 10 of us who are like, we're with you, Princess. So, and again, we're teaching people how to worship. We are teaching people how to engage, especially newer campuses to Sandals, where the culture and the vibe is just still being figured out and learned. And, oh yeah, here's what we do. Some, it's intuitive. I'm sure across some campuses, they just stood up, and that's just what happened. At other campuses, it's a little less. They'll sit the whole time if you let them, you know? And we're coaching people, teaching people. I thought Pastor Ian did a great job coming out of the message going into worship. I thought it was very thoughtful and reflective and great. But then I just don't think that a person sitting for 5 or 6 minutes, that's not.
You don't need to sit and reflect.
No. What?
I know, right? Crazy.
You can
No.
say,
You could stand and reflect too.
yeah.
Crazy.
I was very tempted to ask everybody to stand, but then I didn't want to seem like defiant to what Scott just said like 2 minutes ago. Like, yeah, I know he said that, but you need to stand up.
Hey guys, forget Scott, stand up. Thank you, John.
But it was weird, like and like Eddie said, like yeah, you can stand and do that, but it just felt like we just played them a song at the end, and it's just like, like
Yeah.
Which I've heard that Living Hope had great engagement. I mean,
Yes.
people even at Lake Arrowhead were really singing it out by the end of the song. So just know that you have the freedom. If that were to be a directive again, you have the freedom 1.5 to 2 minutes in to invite people to stand, because that makes sense. So
I think sometimes too, people are like looking for that instruction. They're like,
exactly, that's
they're
what I'm
like,
saying. They're
what
just
should I
we
do? What's the
created
right
an
thing to do?
unnecessary distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The person's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they're not engaged, and so that's just something that we'll share and talk about. So, any other feedback about that intro transition or the thing at the end?
I thought musically it went really well. I disagree with Pablo just a little bit. I thought musically we did a good job of kind of keeping the tone the same, but it was awkward, like in terms of like verbiage and what was said, and so like I don't know.
Paolo didn't love it. He puts that on his weekend eval.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it works for someone like Chris who understands and can talk naturally. But I think at one point Aurelio said, "See you all soon," like at the end, and like so it was just like strange.
During the opening?
Yeah, during the opening, and then there was like, and then the offering thing was like a awkward 15 seconds while people were wondering if they should say understatement. So
Yeah.
He was probably like,
it was just it
You
was an
all
interesting
I know.
situation.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah.
I think if we're gonna do things like if we need to greet new people, like I think we can easily greet new people if it needs to be within the set somewhere where it doesn't have to take a 45 seconds of transition time. You know?
Well, they've said, hey, how about the worship leaders do it? And I've said no to that, just so you know. Because I feel like every service needs to have 3 main people, and they all need to stay in their lane. We need to have the worship leader who's leading worship. We need to have the host or the campus pastor handling that, and then we have the teacher. And I think that it provides clarity and simplicity when all those 3 people stay in their lanes and get really good at doing that one thing. So of course we have worship leaders who, I can do communion and I can do the prayer and I can welcome people and I can, but I'm asking you to lead those people on the stage really well and to be fully engaged and not be thinking about all these other transitions you have to make. I don't want to hand Daniel Gottlob a weekend to lead and go, and no, by the way, make sure you have this really high energy welcome, then make sure you have this really awesome reflective prayer. I feel like here's these 3 lanes every weekend, and you're in this lane, and you're not so good right now, but you're just, all you have to do is stay in this lane. So, and truly, when you go to Hillsong, to Elevation, other people, that's how it's rolling. The worship leader at Hillsong isn't doing anything other than leading worship and maybe praying. But when it comes time for the, hey, we're going to talk about this, whatever, it's someone else who's doing that, and they're just able to concentrate on leading their team. Because then think about this: if you become that person, other than the welcome, like, hey, let's stand and sing together, while you're saying whatever you're saying, whatever verbiage about the red cards and whatever, you realize that your drummer didn't start the click. Now you see, it just creates, I think it creates confusion, and I don't think it helps us move towards clarity, and that's what I want. I want you to go into your role every week with immense clarity on what I'm here to do, how my team is winning, and how I'm winning. And that's all around the preparation, presence, and purpose. And I think we get a little bit off purpose when we're like, we do what we did to Eddie a couple weeks ago. Hey, Eddie, so glad you're here for all the things. And of course, Eddie nailed all the things. Eddie's been doing this for how long? How long have you been doing this?
Doing all the things?
Leading worship.
I don't know. It's a long
Okay.
time.
But I don't want to give that to Anthony Flores in 3 months. I just don't feel like that's setting people up for success. So I hear you. I know that we could go. It could be like, hey, we can do it. I'd like to try to stay away from that as much as possible. I want our worship leaders to lead worship. I want our band leaders to lead the bands. I want us to put people in their lanes and say, and as you run in this lane, we can give you more responsibility inside of your lane. That's just how I like to move forward. So, yes.
Can you ask maybe on our behalf, like, where they're getting the data for the new people? Except for 2 sides. Like, oh, we want to wait because we want to make sure everyone that's new gets to hear this. When I've also heard, like, oh, new people are typically there early because they've never been somewhere, and so they'll show up and they'll be there even before anyone else has. Most people that I talk to that are late are the people that have been going to Sam's for a long time. So I'm just not sure where we're compiling our data, or if we're just sort of guessing.
No, Kelly's compiled a good amount of data on the worship, on the guest experience.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of things to figure out. I think what we have right now is we used to do it this way because these certain people were in charge of it and they had ownership of it, and so we did it their way, and that's not a thing anymore. So it feels like to me like a fresh landscape of, like, we're not, the 60 minutes, it's not a thing anymore. But we change service times based on that artificial thing. So now we're stuck, like, why did we do that? We need to kind of go back and go, well, that's not the high priority is not a 60-minute service. A high priority is the highest priority is Matt having all the time he wants and needs to preach the word, and an extended, purposeful, meaningful worship experience that sets him up for success, and a really on-point guest experience that they come in, their experience from the street to the seat is top-notch, and they leave informed, knowing what to do, and then they know what next step they need to take at the end. So those are really the highest priorities. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to go, okay, well, how do we, because like if we were doing a 60-minute service, Matt took 47 of those this week, that gives us 13 minutes. Yeah. There's power in the name of Jesus, there's power in the name of break up chain, break up chain, break up chain. Okay, sit down, okay, thanks for coming, okay, here's the okay, bye. I mean, so we have to move away then from just some of the things that we've locked in on, and I think that's still an unfolding process but actually, that's not a high priority. 60 minutes it's not from Matt, it's not from, but we've set other things in motion that I think we need to honestly revisit, because people are pretty good with change if they're informed about it well enough in advance. That's good feedback. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for working hard to make it as seamless as possible, and I think that we'll continue to try it, at least for a little while, but the harder you work, first of all, do all the campus pastors practice that during the service run through?
No.
Who did not?
Really?
And where else?
Just really.
Scott was there for service run through. Tim was there for service run through. Ian, Chris. Amber's like, I don't know why you're looking at me. Can you find out from Kelly if Fredo ran through it at Palm during service run through?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. He's there.
I'm sure Adam was there.
Okay. Yeah. Hal, any feedback from Becca? I mean, I didn't get anything from East Valley for this week.
I haven't talked to her, but I can reach out after this.
Yeah. I got hers from Montclair from 2 weeks ago, but I need one
Okay.
from East Valley from this week. So please just get into the habit of filling this out every week. It should take you like 5 minutes, right? I mean, even less.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's really, really helpful. And all of the info I gather from you, I don't just go, that's good info. But I've 2 out of 2 that I got today. I sent an email at 11:45 last night about what are we doing for production at Montclair, because it was on Matt's from this week and it was on Becca's from the week before. So just know that there's movement behind the gathering of information. I'm not just gathering it for you guys to give you guys one more thing to do. So hot button issues. I'm gonna turn it over to you because you said some weird observations, and I'm curious about.
I think that's a conversation I'd want to just have with you.
Got it.
If that's okay.
Yeah, I was so curious. I was like,
Oh yeah.
I
No,
know.
it's part of it's like how should I have handled something, and then part of it is like something felt off, so I just But
Cool.
since it's about like a specific volunteer. I
Yes,
just wanna,
that's fine. Campus worship leaders who had network worship leaders filling in for you this week, or any week. Kelly filled out the form for Palm, which was really helpful. But please make sure that you debrief with them as soon as the weekend is over. So if you were away from your campus for whatever reason, connect with them Sunday afternoon or Sunday night or first thing Monday morning. Hey, and I mean like a conversation. Like, I want you to hear from them how your volunteers did, if they felt set up for success, if there's anything else that you could do or have done to give them what they needed. I think from a network worship leader, think of it as a substitute teacher, okay? So my son came home the other day from King High School and he had video of this kid in his class who went crazy on the substitute. He was laughing because it was funny. But I felt so bad for the substitute teacher because this kid, like, Elijah's like, well, he's special. Like, he sews patches onto his jacket that don't make any sense. I think he probably is, like, not all there, man. But he like, started playing this banjo music on his phone. And the teacher told him to turn it off. And he turned it louder, and then the teacher told him, and then he had like a bass, like a JBL in his backpack.
Yes.
And he goes, and the teacher goes, I'm gonna have to call security. And when the kid got to the door, he blared. He goes, good luck trying to find me.
Oh no.
Right? But imagine the substitute. How do you you're managing this crazy kid at the door, but you've got 35 kids who are laughing. Which Elijah's like, Mom, I tried to laugh into my, and I'm like, I know, I have nervous reaction laughter you get from me. I understand. But that's an extreme analogy to make a really important point. That network worship leaders who are moving into your lane, into your spot, over-communicate. Over-communicate. So even look at their set before they go into rehearsal Thursday, make sure. And especially like this weekend, there were so many changes happening on Thursday. I got put into a campus pastor meeting at 4:30 on Thursday, and it was like, hey, we need to do it. And then Adam Atchison started writing a script for campus pastors, and then John, it was all, and it's not ideal, right? You guys, it's not ideal, but there will be times where that happens. And just know that the heart and the intention behind that is to make the service as impactful as possible. Will we succeed at that every time? Probably not. But it's people really with their hearts in the right place to do things really well. So just please over-communicate with people who step in for you to make sure if they get there and there's no food for anybody, like, what are they supposed to do about that? They don't have, they just showed up. So anything like that, just be mindful of. If your production lead has a quirk that, they'll say this, but just don't get dissuaded. They'll be fine. Tell them that. They don't know. You know, if Riley looks completely flustered and overwhelmed, but Eddie knows, give her 5 minutes, she'll be fine. But to someone filling in for me, like, oh gosh, I don't know if we can do that because Riley's completely off a rocker and I don't know what to do now. We have to make sure that we over communicate. And I would say that from you guys, that's really helpful, good feedback as network worship leaders, the two that I'm pointing at. sorry, Taylor and
Taylor.
Krista.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Helpful to you?
Yeah,
Very helpful.
I agree. Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about, so with the post-processing with the campus worship leader and the network worship leader, what about like, say example, so Saturday night this week, the message on Slack, do you want the campus worship leader to make sure that like the
Yes.
Kelly Tillers have gotten that? Because I know for us, we're checking our Slack. We know that those are critical moments, Thursdays, Saturdays for like last minute changes, but our worship leader bullpen is still being trained in that. Our Rogo team is still being trained in that.
Yes. Yeah, you need to make sure that you inform them, because here's another change that I want you guys to know about. Penny Nichols has a new role as the weekend service coordinator. So Penny sits in the 2 services at Hunter Park on Saturday night now and gathers all of the information. And then she connects with communication, production, worship, and campus pastors for, hey, whichever one is shorter, unless PMAT hates that one, then that's the one that we're sending. But we're trying to give every campus a heads up. So that's how we knew we have to break every chain, because we need those 3 minutes back. And the message on Slack went to host. Keep your transitions brief, because we don't have any extra time. So she's kind of filling that role as like a central person, because worship things and production things and communication things, and that was, so 2 weeks ago that looked like I was supposed to still be relaxing from my Laguna Beach, and my phone was blowing up with, John Brown was like, and I was like, well, who did you tell? And so again, we're growing so fast that we're running to keep up. So now we have a person who's like a hub. She's the central, and so it'll come kind of like the directors over whatever, and with Matt and DZ especially, it'll filter all through Penny. This is the communication that's not going out across. There won't be a directive from Penny to cut a song. Penny and I will discuss that, and then we'll make that decision to you guys. So I connected with Danny on what makes the most sense. It feels like break every chain makes the most sense. I really don't want to mess with the first set if we can at all avoid it. So Penny, let's cut that and ask all of the transitions to be super tight, which was, we shaved it down as much as we could doing that. So just so you guys know, that's a new thing happening.
So going forward, weekend experience channel, that's the one that we'll see those.
Weekend
changes on?
Experience is outside of Sandals Worship because it's got all of the
All the
campus
things.
pastors. So changes like that will
Okay.
show up there. That's where Penny will post those. So
Do you just want us to give set list directives on the weekend programming channel on the worship side of it?
if it's a major change at the last minute, I think we should just use the Weekend Experience, because everyone should be on that.
Yeah, we chatted this morning. There's just looking over all of the channels again under the worship. Melanie kind of clarified a few that we can delete completely. I think you're the administrator on mostly all of those.
Service ideas, like we can take some of those off because we have
Just to
different
streamline.
forms of communication now.
And then pulling, I think, decks off of some of the channels and stuff still. Yeah.
Yeah, but making sure that everybody who needs to be on it is on it, and those kind of things.
Cool.
So a couple business things, and then I want to just open it up for a few minutes. But as of right now, we don't have any food planned for Thursday because none of us are great party planners. Actually, I had a really great idea. It was going to be coffee, cookies, and crack from Denise White, but she's away, so she can't do it. So I was like, Dad. She was like, I would have loved to. I would have made a bar. It would have been so cute. I'm like, oh, great, but we don't have it. So, are you guys feeling like we need to, or we should? And if so, who wants to own that? And our other thought was, is Kylie Camden a person who likes to do that kind of stuff? Like, would she want to? And then if we do, what would be really simple and easy?
What's our budget?
A little.
I feel like people would just be happy with like coffee. Like we don't have to even do food. Like if they have a little warm drink.
Because last time we just had Augie's and then some pastries.
Almost. Well, yeah, part of it. I was gonna say not that many people ate food, but that was also it was like
Whatever we
6.
have, it's going to be in the lobby,
Yeah.
like when they walk in. So, do you think that we should do coffee and
Dark chocolate.
cupcakes, or hot chocolate, or
Riverside.
Oh yeah.
Riverside cookie shop. Just get a whole bunch of cookies.
coffee and cookies?
I can own that if nobody wants to.
But you're leading, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
We
Morgan
could
should.
also maybe see in our home base today if there's any volunteers from the team who
Okay.
could, like, we give them budget,
Mm.
you know, this is where we want to order from.
Cool.
So everybody in the neighborhood should probably do that.
Yeah.
Sounds
Eddie, do you want to make crepes?
Sure. Get scared.
A lot of crepes.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
It's a lot of crepes, a lot of time. Cool.
I've done that.
About Thursday night, I will have you do that in the future for sure. But it'll be like a bigger, grander, more, you know.
You can provide some real creative stuff.
Yes.
Someone for food.
So you're going to lead the little San Bernardino breakout. Cool. Do you have any like students who are faithfully or a part of worship?
I have like a couple.
Yeah, I would love for you to invite them.
Okay.
And if they can come and huddle up with them, just because
Yeah.
it's a pipeline, and that's what we want. I'm gonna do East Valleys. Pablo's not missing because he wants to. He's missing because he's a campus pastor who's taking him somewhere else. So
Definitely.
I miss you guys.
don't ask him where he'd rather be. We're recording. Now he wants to go with you guys. He does. But here's what that little breakout's going to look like. It's not going to be like a massive deal. I want you. We're going to talk about the vision and our four things. So we are getting those working together, using our gifts, leading ourselves, and empowering others. I just want that to become verbiage and language that everyone across our team gets and understands. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So following that breakout, following that mini talk, I want you guys to break out. And what I want you to do is I want you to spend the next 4 days, like, hey, who's going to be there? Hey, you guys have to come. Like, really, really, really make this campus-specific, campus-driven. Because what we'll look to go to in 2020 is 2 big ones of these a year, and then interspersed throughout the year, you'll have your own at your worship gathering. So you're starting to communicate now how valuable and how important these are. So you just want to, hey, and to clear up discrepancies, because I know that we have a lot of people that still float between campuses, I want them to go to the campus that they attend. So they serve and they attend, that's where they should go. Because that's really their campus. When they're not on, I'm here. So that's what I want you to go. That means you're their campus worship leader. What I want you to really focus on in this breakout is, 1, I want you to share from your own personal why you love leading worship. Like why you're passionate about this, why this matters to you, why you believe God called you into it. And then and inside of that, I want you to express, like, you know, your heartfelt gratitude for what you get to do, like what you get to be a part of. Because gratitude is contagious. So when I'm in a bad place or I'm in a funky mood, and my husband says, you know, we have a blessed life, it helps me go, you know what we do? That unexpected car bill isn't gonna ruin, and it helps me shift my focus. So you guys sharing, here's why I love leading worship, here's why I'm grateful for this opportunity, that's contagious to your team. People who show up every week for you are people who are grateful they get to be a part of it. People who decline at a moment's notice are people who don't care. And people who are like, this is the thing I may get to do. They're not as invested. Gratitude is something that continues to fuel people to keep coming and keep showing up and keep learning new songs, because they are a part of this huge vision movement called Sandals Church. This is what Steve and Beck said, just kind of like debriefing their visit. Steve said something along the lines of, how many people on your team realize how special this is that they get to be a part of it? Because he's been around. He's been around to a lot of things that worked and a lot of things that haven't. And so that's a really good perspective for us to think, like, man, this isn't happening everywhere. I get to be a part of it. So that little nilly thing that annoys me, or that volunteer that I need her to show up, but I'm kind of not sad if she doesn't, like, that helps us. It helps us lead. It helps us lead really well. And then I want you to kind of have a time for your team. I want you to cast vision for creating dynamic worship at your campus. Okay, and so to give you similar verbiage to use, we want worship to be alive. We want it to be fluid. And so I want you to walk them through a really quick, the heads up, heads down. How do you lead when your heads up? You lead heads up when you've prepared. So you're going to use the 3 Ps. So you guys want to make sure that you're preparing. You're not learning the songs on Thursday night so that you can be present on the weekend, right? Because everything we do has purpose. We're not just up there singing songs. And I'm going to say this, we're not leading songs, we're leading people in worship, and we use songs to do that. But those 3 Ps, preparation, presence, and purpose, those are our wins. That's how we define the wins on the weekend. Were you and your team prepared? That's a win. Were you able to be present in the room because of how well you guys were doing? It was fluid. Man, it just felt like everybody was on the same page. It just went so well. That's a win. Were you purposeful, like in your engagement with the team and how you guys led and what you said? Then that's a win. That's how we define wins. So you want to begin to put in their mind, have them start assessing. Did they win this weekend? No, they weren't prepared. That wasn't a win for them. And the more you use this verbiage, the more you have to go back with them and say, hey, I love you. I'm glad you were here. Dude, like you weren't prepared coming into Thursday, or you weren't prepared coming in Sunday, especially weekends where you don't have rehearsal. You got to over communicate. That personal rehearsal really matters in light of not having rehearsal on a Thursday night, which we're not going to have this week. So that's your chance to go, hey, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Make sure you know your songs. Make sure you're prepared, okay? It makes a huge difference. I love one of the things Steve said. We don't have ring outs down yet, but he said, but we're going to practice them till we get them perfect. That's how you lead. We're going to keep doing this till you guys get it. But the more you encourage them to come prepared, the more they will. The more you encourage them to watch it. If I say to you, hey, go watch this archive from Saturday night, have your team watch that archive. Let your back line see what a heads up back line looks like. Because if they're just thinking, well, yeah, I know, I just don't look up from my iPad, but I know where I'm going. That's not ideal. We want people who are playing like this. And you guys have to remember, I was reminded yesterday walking into Lake Arrowhead. Garrett's got people on his team who are phenomenal and very able musicians, but this is still a new system for them. So curveballs and heads up, that really, really matters to your team. Okay? Virgie's going to want enough heads up from Garrett as what she's playing on Sunday, she can print out her music because that's what she does. And Virgie's allowed to print out her music. I'm not going to tell Virgie to go buy an iPad, right? But how we set Virgie up for success is to communicate to her early in the week that your set list, as soon as those set lists, hey, these next 2 weeks are done, you have them up on your campus. You don't need to wait till the Monday up. It's done. You get it up there, and you're putting as many notes on Planning Center for Virgie as you can. So Virgie does the intro, or no keys on the intro, or what. Just over communicate, and your teams will come better prepared to play and to serve. And you know what? You'll be less frustrated by the end of the weekend. It'll be the thing that takes your overall score from a 3 to a 4 to a 5. So this is your chance. This is why we're doing this Thursday night. It's your chance now. They're going to hear from me and from here's the global vision, but then they need to hear what makes it dynamic at Moreno Valley. Dawn, this is your chance to go with your team and go, guys, rehearsal starts right at 7 or right at 6, and it's really important that everybody's there on time. It's everybody's time. It's everybody's night away from their family. It's everybody's sacrifice. So we need to make sure that we're there on time. This is your chance to do that in a setting where everyone's getting to lead. So, cool? Everybody go with that?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can just the average volunteer access Planning Center like weeks in advance, or do they need like additional?
No, if the set list is up, they can
Okay.
they can see it.
Okay.
Yep. So once they get the directive from you guys that it's up, then they have
They just log
access to
on.
see it.
Okay.
They're not going to check it until they hear from you. That's what you need to hear me say. They're not they have a gazillion other things going on that they're not checking Planning Center, like unless they're one of our few volunteers that are retired or you know what I mean? they're waiting to hear from you that, hey, the set list is up, I put notes on, and use engaging, exciting. I'm gonna close with this. I hate when I talk too much, but this is important. We had a huge Cultivate event Friday night. It was standing room only. We had almost 2,000 women here. It was ridiculous. It was insane. Okay, it required an incredible number of volunteers. We call them the Cultivate Squad. So a week before the event, we're sitting around talking, and I'm hearing several people on the team. No one says that they can't come. Like, no one responds to my email. Like, it's just like, And so I was like, let's revisit the verbiage. We are not asking women to help. Just now when I said, hey, who wants to help with the snacks for Thursday night? Did you see a bunch of hands go up in this room? You know what you do when you ask people to help? You give them one more thing to do. That's why people don't get excited by that vision. We are empowering women to serve. And you know how women get excited? About vision. If I would have said, hey guys, we need to create an amazing front door first impression Thursday night. We need to have something, hey, we're so glad you're here. This is our chance to serve our team. I think more of you are like, okay, I can do that. Thank you, Morgan, you win the prize. Rather than, hey, who wants to take over snacks for Thursday night? Do you see there's such a difference? Someone's like, hey guys, we're having this event Friday night. If you guys don't come, we're not gonna have ushers. That doesn't, like, it needs to be, guys, we're gonna fill up this entire place with women, and they've gotta have a place to sit, and they need to be greeted warmly. And how are we convincing them that we're a community of kindness if there's no kind woman there to greet them when they get here? This is our chance. This is our opportunity. We get to do this. And I said, change your verbiage and watch your replies change. And sure enough, I was like, go back to your squads. Don't ask anybody else for help. It's not what we're doing. We are empowering women to serve. You've got to take that same mindset into your teams and how you look what we get to do. When the email comes from me from Planning Center, it needs to be, what an amazing weekend we're going into this weekend, you guys. It's going to be this and this, and rehearsal's going to be awesome if you come prepared. If you don't come prepared, bring a snack, because we're going to be there for a while. Like, we want to get it right, and you need to be ready to go for us to get it right, because I'm ready to go home just like attach them to vision, and then people do a better job. So that just, and again, we can't do this without our volunteers. So if they all start declining because your rehearsals are 4 hours long, we have to make adjustments. That's on us. We have to make those adjustments. It's not on them. Does everybody get that? Understand? Cool. Okay. Really quickly, I would love to know an update on DC, and then if there's something that you would like us to pray for, give us an update on how you're doing personally. Would love to hear